Welcome to another episode of Cooking with Robby. And today we're going to try something really simple, really easy, but I'm going to do a spaghetti sauce, a pasta sauce with meatballs, mushrooms, a lot of different things. So this is just the way I like to cook it. And times when you don't have a fake starter sauce or a store-bought starter sauce, you can just make your own. It's really easy, and as it cooks longer, it tends to do better. All right, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm turning on my oven. I'm going to flip around the camera to the other way. And today I'm going to try different things with using different cuts and angles and different things to show some of what I'm doing. So let me flip this around. So I've got my pot turned on, got the heat turned on the pot. I'm going to add a little bit of olive oil to the pot. Let that be warming up. And I went ahead and done a lot of things ahead of time so that it'll be easier to talk about what I'm doing. So to this, I'm going to add, the oil's still getting warm, but I'm just going to go ahead and add just like half a medium onion that I've chopped up. And with that, I'm going to add some minced garlic. And this is the dried, I don't have the fresh. And with the way the stores are going right now, I don't have time to go get the fresh to stay safe. And to that, I like to add, and even if you don't like these, you should try it because it adds a good flavor to your sauce. I'm adding, it's about 10 Kalamata olives that have been finely chopped. Go in there, and that's going to sweat away with the onions, the garlic, and the olive oil. It's just going to cook in there all together. Okay, while this is cooking down, I'm going to start working on my meatballs. What I have is I have a pound of ground turkey. To that, I'm going to add, it's about half to 3/4 a cup of finely chopped onions, a half a cup of breadcrumbs. To these breadcrumbs I've added salt, pepper, and garlic, and an egg. Just going to break the egg into there. And all you have to do is just mix that up. For me, the best way to mix up meatballs is with my hands. Make sure I get everything incorporated into where it's supposed to go. Again, I'm just sweating down these onions and garlic and Kalamata olives, to start the base of the sauce. Got to move things around here. I'll give that a couple more minutes. And while that's going, I'm just going to mix this up. Just helps to get your hands all down in there. And just mix up the ingredients. These are just simple meatballs. Just go in the sauce. And I chopped up things ahead of time so that I wouldn't have to worry about doing anything else. So most of the chopping and cutting will be done ahead of time. So you just incorporate all of that together. I'm going to put that on my board. My board has been cleaned. It's ready to go. And it also extends my counter space because I don't have very much on counter space. Just put this in the sink here. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to shape this into just an oblong to a rectangle, whatever thickness you want. And I find it easier to go to a rectangle because I'm going to pre-cut the portions so that I can try to get everything about the same size. I'm going to wash my hands real quick. Sometimes you can never wash your hands enough because I have to keep one off the stir. So I'm going to be putting my hands back on there before the meatballs. I can wash my hands just to get them kind of not gross. So that I can continue using hot water. I don't know if that was 20 seconds or not, but with the number of times I've washed my hands over the past little bit, it's close enough. Now, these are sweating down really nicely. They're almost at the point I want them. To that, I'm going to add, I got some tomato paste here, some mutti, I don't know how to pronounce it, tomato paste. I'm just going to add 2 really good squeezes of that in there. I'll let that cook down a little bit with the onions and the calamatas and the garlic. And to that, I'm going to add some palmy, rustica tomatoes. This is kind of just some chopped tomatoes. They've just been pureed. Just add that in. It doesn't have any seasoning or spices. It's just the tomatoes added in there. Look and see what it says written. It's just tomatoes. Tomatoes, and it has a little bit of salt in it. And to that, I'm also going to add 1 box of chopped tomatoes. I'm just taking, just open the box. And that's Gucci in the background squeaking his toy. It's just chopped tomatoes. You can get in a can, but the box will work well. Just pour those in. And just stir that up. That's just going to be the start of the sauce. I'm going to add some other things to it a little bit. While that's cooking, I'm going to add to that. I have, this is a spice here. This is a garlic and cheese that I'm adding into that. I don't have any fresh Parmesan or anything in the house, but this has some Parm in it. So I like to add to my spaghetti sauce. I'm going to add that in. There's a few other spices. I've got a teaspoon of salt and a teaspoon of pepper. I'm going to add in. About a half teaspoon of red pepper flakes. Then I'm going to add, it's a little, two teaspoons of basil, 2 teaspoons of oregano, and 1 teaspoon of savory. Just add all those spices in. Just get that all stirred in together so it's all incorporated together. And while that just melts the flavors together for a little while, we'll put the lid on, turn the heat down just a bit, and finish up with the meatballs. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to portion these and slice them into equal portions. They may not be exact, but they're close. So what I've done is so it's about 20 meatballs here. What I'm going to do is take them up and roll them. I'm just going to sear them in a pan. I'm not going to try to cook them all the way through, because I'm just going to sear them a little bit in the pan with a little olive oil. And then I'm going to put them into the sauce. They're not going to be done when I put them in, but they'll be just started. Because I want these to cook in with the sauce and soak up all the delicious flavors of the sauce into the meatballs. Just roll these up. They're generally the same size. Some may be just a tad bigger than the others. But without getting a ruler out and measuring, I'm not going to fuss about if one's just a hair bigger than all the other ones. You could have done this smaller, made more. It's just me and Gucci here, and I'm not going to feed him the meatballs. So, and pasta's always a good thing to do. You can freeze it, the sauce, you can make it ahead of time, freeze it and pull it out. You can do it without the meatballs and just do a tomato sauce. You can just add the ground turkey in without, forming meatballs. So there's sorts of things you can do. I would usually add bell pepper in with the sauce, but like I said, I'm working with what I have at the house. Try not to go or have someone go to the store for me as much as possible because I know how rough it is. So this is just stuff I had here in the house. So get these meatballs going. And I'm going to let these get started. And I will be back. Okay, I'm back. I've had to clean up a few things. And I have almost finished the meatballs. I'm going to turn the heat off on those. Let the lid from my pasta pot just sit on there for a minute. And I've taken some mixed wild mushrooms. And I had about a quarter of a jar of these left. And I like mushrooms in my pasta sauce. So I've taken these. And I've soaked them for about half an hour. I've got the water in there because I'm going to add that as well because that's just the water we reconstituted these on. And I drained them out a little bit. And I got a different cutting board, and I'll show you the reason why. I've got one that's got the little hole in the top. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to roughly chop these. Give these a little rough chop. I'm going to add these to the sauce. I'm going to add the liquid from these in as well. It gives me that mushroom flavor. Just got these roughly chopped. Not too fine, but not too big. You can use portobellas. You can use the white mushrooms. But the reason I use the board with the top, take these over here and just put the top over the pot. And just let these go into the pot and just put it right through the hole there. It keeps from getting them everywhere when you try to move them in. Just use a little hole in the top of the cutting board. That's all you have to do. And it gets them all into the pot. The water from the mushrooms into the sauce. Get a more earthy flavor to it. Just stir those in. Then I'm going to start adding the meatballs in. Put them one at a time, and I'll put the lid on. I'm going to let this simmer for a couple of hours. That's why I'm doing this early. Just let it simmer. And then I'll come back and I'll cook some pasta. And everything will be ready. Just add the meatballs in. I didn't cook them all the way through. I got a little color on them. But just add these in and stir them in. And they'll continue to cook as they're in the sauce and release juices into the sauce, which will add another depth of flavor. Pasta sauce is great because the longer you let it cook, the better it is. And usually I would add about a cup of chicken stock to this, but I don't have any, so I'm going to wind up adding a little bit of water just for that. But since I have the turkey cooking in there, it'll act a little bit like a vegetable stock. I mean a poultry stock, a turkey stock, or chicken stock. It's about a cup of water, maybe a little bit more. Just add that in. And while that's going to cook down, this a stir. We'll put the lid on. We'll let this simmer for the next couple of hours. And then we'll come back and taste to see how it is. Alright, some pasta. Like I said, I'm using things I have here at the house. Not going to be a traditional spaghetti type dinner, but what pasta I'm going to be using is around the Pasiago. I don't know how to pronounce it, but I'll give you the Altigliani. It's a part of Italy. But this is another one that Jay brought me back when he went to Italy over the holidays, and he brought me this back. So I'll be back in a little while. We'll see how this goes. Okay, I'm cooking the sauce for about an hour now. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to add just a little bit, not very much, just a little bit of a red wine to the sauce. Just to stir it, just to put it in there. It adds just a little bit of depth of flavor to the sauce. It's you use a Merlot or something, but I used a nice Cabernet. Added to the sauce, and just gives it a little bit more of a depth of flavor. You know, all these flavors coming together, this is very good. It's delicious sauce. Let me show you. It's a nice deep sauce. So we have sauce with the meatballs, and I'm going to let this continue to cook down and simmer for another hour before I start the pasta. See, we've got the meatballs cooking in with the sauce. It just looks wonderful. Okay, the pasta's been cooked. The sauce has been cooking for the past couple of hours. And so it's now time to get it ready. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add just a little bit of olive oil to this pan. Just a little. I'm going to add the pasta. And back here, back in the water. I'm going to put it into the pan with the olive oil. It's been cooked al dente. I'm not doing too much pasta, just my first serving. I'm a big boy, so I get a big serving. And then I'm just going to let that get coated in the olive oil a little bit. Let it be cooking. Even though I seasoned it when it's cooking, I'm going to add a little salt, a little pepper. I don't need much because the sauce has a lot of flavor to it. I'm going to get that all mixed up. And to that, I'm going to add some of the sauce. Just add it into the pasta. So I have it in this pan. Just a little bit of the sauce. And we want to get that pasta coated. Get it nice and coated and let it just cook a little bit on the heat. And while it's cooking, you know, this is a little different than how I had pasta growing up. I do watch a few cooking shows. I do have a lot of fun with this. And it's all about, for me, it's all about experimentation. And how can I have fun with what I'm doing? And this is usually what I do in the afternoons when I get home from work to relax. And all I want to do is for that sauce just to permeate the pasta just a little bit, to cook right down into the pasta, which is a good thing. And so I'm letting this heat up a little bit more. You got the added flavor of the sauce just going into the pasta. All I'm going to do, let's go in there. I'm just going to pour it into my bowl here. Incorporate, and then all I'm going to do is I'm going to add some more sauce and some meatballs to the pasta. Have that go in there. I'm going to need a towel because even though it's just me at home, I like my bowl to look pretty to start with, so I'm going to wipe the bowl so it looks nice and pretty. The pasta and the sauce. It's a nice deep sauce color. I did find some cheese. It was actually sliced cheese in the refrigerator, and it was a cheddar. It's a little bit sharper than what I usually like, but it would go pair well with this. So I kind of broke it in half, and then I ran it through my mini grater, which if you don't have a mini grater, well, let me show you this one. It's very cool. It comes, I've already washed it, but it comes with small sabosca. Just put it together and just grate it inside. You actually use it inside and sprinkle it onto your cheese if you want to. It works really well with a good Parmesan. All right, I'm gonna take the rest of this, sprinkle it on here. You can never have too much cheese. But let this cook all day, well, for a few hours. Got the pasta cooked, spread it with cheese, and now it's all ready to go. I'm gonna turn it. I'm turning everything the wrong way, so I'm gonna flip it over. This is what it looks like. I hope you enjoyed. I've had a lot of fun today wearing the hat because my hair was looking kind of rough today. Got my Deadpool shirt on, got my dinner ready, and it's time to just sit back and relax. I hope you have a great Easter and happy Sunday.